And queens. Okay, today we are going to make braised short ribs. Okay, and I have about let's see here. This one is like almost 2 pounds, and this one is like 1.5. So about 3.5 pounds of short ribs. And these short ribs come from the farm that I get the milk from. Okay? So when their cows are done, they process their cows. And then they have the meat. And they get it from like a real old meat packing plant that just puts the meat into big pieces. So these short ribs are like a whole rack of ribs. So what I'm doing is I'm separating the ribs into the individual ribs here, okay? And the meat from this farm is really good. This is the kind of places that I like to get my meat, especially beef, because you know it's good quality. You know it is humanely raised. It's minimally distressing when they're processed. So it's a better way to buy meat. Plus, it tastes absolutely delicious. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to dry them. Okay, I'm going to put them in the trash can here. We're going to get this tray here so that we can put the ribs on there. And I'm going to dry off the blood from there. Okay, because we want this to be very dry. That's how we get caramelization. So I'm actually going to turn on the pot here, and we're going to put our ribs on this pan, and then we're going to prepare them to cook. I also have some vegetables that I prepared to save time and to save video time so that these videos can be a little bit more time sensitive. Okay, so you want the meat nice and dry so that it really will caramelize. Okay, if you don't have the meat nice and dry, then it just steams instead of creates a nice delicious crust. Okay, so we have about 8 good sized short ribs here. 2 of them are a little bit smaller on the ends, but the other ones are very big and very meaty. You can see the meat has it has very nice marbling. Okay, there's lots of nice layers of fat that go through the meat. This is really high quality meat, and you know, it doesn't have to be very expensive. I mean, of course it's more than if you went to the grocery store, but this meat was buy one get one free with those short ribs. Okay, so whenever they have a little bit extra of their meat, they always kind of discount it or do like buy one get one half off. So it's just, you know, you can make a bargain, or you could get a bargain with that. I'm sorry, I have to unload the dishwasher, so the sink is just a mess right now. But I'm going to wash my hands, and then I'm going to show you we're going to season it, and then we're going to put these into the pan. So we'll switch the camera over to the stove. Okay, and I have the pan. There's oil in the bottom, and then there's I'm sorry about this dog drama. Roxanne is getting mad at Bacchus because she's eating and she thinks that he wants her food, and he does not. He has his own food, but he's getting falsely accused by her. So they have a little bit of beef going on. Get it? Beef? Oh God. This is the kind of things that my students have to put up with in my class. So, yeah, my corny jokes are legendary, and I'm usually the only one that finds them funny. Okay, so we're gonna flip them, and then we're gonna season on the other side. Okay, now when we cook them in the pan, we're actually gonna cook them on all 4 sides. We want to get a nice caramelization on all 4 sides. Okay. And you can be generous with the salt because it's going to go into the pan and be used with the meat. Okay. So there we go. So we got all of our meat ready, and I'm going to just show you this. Okay, so what happened was I thought I had wine. I did not. So I prepped this. I was all ready to start recording, and then I realized that I don't have any wine, and you cannot make this without wine. Okay, so what I have in here is 2 shallots diced up into like big chunks, 1 onion cut into big chunks, 1 bunch of celery cut into big chunks, 2 very large carrots. So if you have smaller carrots, 3 to 4 carrots, and a head of garlic in here. These are the vegetables. So we're going to put them in after we start browning the meat. Okay? Okay. So you can see we have our oil is heating up, and this is like kind of a mix of a little bit of vegetable oil and a little bit of olive oil, and we're just trying to get color on these beef tenders, or beef strips. Okay, so there's our ribs. We want them all touching the bottom of the pan. Okay, and I'm going to take the pan here that I had them in, and I'm just going to brush that salt into the pan. Okay, so we're going to let that go for a little bit, and then we're going to flip that. Okay. Now it smells really good and beefy right now, so we're gonna, and this is why I like using cast iron, especially for things like that. Okay, this is the results we get from using a cast iron pan. You get this really good browning, and that kind of seals in the meat and also brings out a lot of delicious flavor. Okay, so we're going to start with the big sides first. Okay, and this is a very large Le Creuset pan, as you can see. This is, I want to say, a 7 or a 10 quart. It was the biggest one I could get in this color. So the color is called Deep Teal. Okay, so I'm going to just put that there so that I don't create a whole bunch of grease in the kitchen, and also this way I can talk and we don't have the crackling of the meat. So there's a couple other things that we're going to add. We're going to add tomato paste. We're going to add a really dry red wine. Okay, in this case, it is a Chianti, which is a really good Italian red wine. We're going to add some stock. Okay, we want all of this to be covered in liquid. Okay, they're going to braise in this Dutch oven, and it's just going to stay on the stove, and it's just going to braise for hours, like 3 to 4 hours. It's just going to braise and break down. And whenever you're using a meat like this, like brisket, short ribs, chuck roast, anything like that, those meats, the longer you can let them braise and cook, the more tender they're going to get. Okay, these are very tough pieces of meat. Okay, and they require a lot of time to break down the meat. Okay, and that will result in really delicious, tasty dish. Okay, so this is not a quick meal. This is a long kind of Sunday. This is why I'm making it today. It's a good Sunday meal. Okay, so the longer you can let this cook and braise, the more tender it's going to be. And you're going to see when we're done with this, when I pick up those pieces of short rib, the bone is going to fall out of the short rib. Okay, it's just going to be removed just sheerly by picking it up. Like the meat's going to have just tenderized and really broken down in such a great way. Okay, and you're going to see at the bottom of the pan, especially when we take this off, you're going to see that there's a lot of bits of stuff on the bottom there. Okay, that stuff is what we want. Okay, that's what's called the fond, and that's why we are starting with the meat, because the meat makes all of the fond. Okay, then we're going to bring the vegetables in, and the vegetables are going to they're going to release a lot of water and soften, and that's what we're going to want them to do. But they're also going to pick up all of those bits of fond at the bottom of this pan. Okay, so let's take a look in there. Okay, you can see it's really going along. We're getting great color on our meat here. Okay, and we want to make sure, I know this is very time consuming, but you're building flavor. Okay, so this is a good thing to do. Okay, so you want to make sure that we're going to keep turning it so that each side gets a bit of color. Okay, you want them all to look like this. See this beautiful brown? That not only is flavor, and not only is going to make the dish incredibly delicious, but it's also going to seal the meat. So even though it's going to be in this liquid and stuff, the meat or the juices that are in the meat are going to stay in there, and the fat's going to render very slowly because it's sealed with that that Maillard effect. That's what that browning is called. It's a chemical reaction, and it's called the Maillard effect. And that's, anytime you see browning in food, that's that reaction happening. And back in my chemistry teaching days, one of the indications that you have a chemical reaction is a color change. So that's a good example of a color change reaction, the Maillard reaction. Okay. So we're gonna let that go for another minute, and then we're gonna check it and see. And you can see, do you see how the bones are starting? We couldn't see those before. See how they're starting to get pulled back? That's because the meat is starting to tighten up, okay? And that's going to just, seal things off a little bit, but that's okay. Okay. And then put that one. That one. The interesting thing about this stove is, for whatever reason, the center of the burner has kind of like a cold spot, because the flame is going up around that burner head. The stove that I used to have in my apartment in South Philly, the powerful burners had an inner ring as well, and that was a really good feature in that stove. So I do really miss that, but this is a great stove. It's taking a little bit of getting used to for me, because I'm used to the biggest burner being the highest amount of power. But here, it actually helps sometimes to use the smaller burner. So this is another maybe good lesson. Get to know your stove. Know the way it works. Know the way the burners work. Electric stoves are very different. Induction stoves are very different. Coil electric stoves versus halogen, which is the glass top electric stoves. They're all very different. And it just helps to know your stove eccentricity. All right, we're on the last side of the meat. I don't know, that one looks like it wasn't turned. Interesting. All right, so maybe that one will have to turn a little bit more. But we're almost ready to take them out, okay? And I'm just going to rinse off and get back my tray here that we were using. And I'm going to just put them on, and then we're going to pop in the vegetables. Okay, so I put that tray next to the pot here, and you kind of can't see it. Here, there you go. So there's the tray. So I'm going to take them out, and then we're going to throw in our vegetables. Okay, and we're going to cook the vegetables so that they get all of that fond at the bottom up. Okay, so these look beautiful right now. Okay, if you were to bite into them, though, they would be tough as a piece of old shoe leather. They would not have any sort of taste. They would not be good. Okay? So we're going to take them off. And then we're going to add in our vegetables, which is going to clean up this, the bottom of this pan. Okay, so here goes our vegetables. Okay, I'm just going to add them from this bag. Okay. And notice I'm switching to a new tool here. Okay, I'm using a wooden spatula type tool. And this is a nice wooden Italian tool. Now, wood tools are very good and they're very useful for things like this. Cast iron, things like that. And I'm just going to leave this in there for a little bit. Okay, they're very good. And they're really helpful for this because you can really scrape it. You can use a metal utensil, but it will start making marks on there, and it's not a good idea. Enamel is a very strong natural material, but it's not indestructible. And with using a wood utensil, you can really get in there, especially this. If you could see, it's got kind of a sharpened edge or flat edge, and that really allows you to push and dig that fond up. Okay, so now wood tools do need special treatment. You need to get something called mineral oil. Okay, and mineral oil, every time you wash this, and I wash them in the dishwasher, okay, because they really need to be sanitized and clean. But after I'm done, I rub in some mineral oil, and I do that as often as possible. Okay, I may do it a couple times because that will prevent it from getting funky. Okay, it'll prevent it from cracking, it'll prevent it from having all the bad things that happen with wood utensils. Okay, so it will allow you to keep them forever, really, and it will keep them sealed too. That's the important part. You don't want bacteria getting in wood material. Okay, so we're going to take a look here, and you can see it's already starting to pull up some of this material. And if you look here, see that onion here? Pick it up. See that? That's just, it's like an eraser. It's just picking right, like cleaning right up on the bottom there. So in addition to adding lots of flavor here, it also makes cleaning so much easier. Okay? Plus, and this is very important, this is all the flavor. This is a huge amount of flavor that is in all that fond, okay? So if you just leave that in there, or God forbid, go to the sink and wash that out before you do this, you're flushing down the drain all the flavor that you just filled up with your with the Maillard reaction with your short ribs. Okay, so this again, this is an extra step. Okay, it's a time-consuming step. Okay, it's going to really pay off, but you need patience. That's why this is a really good Sunday dinner or a good special dinner for some friends or family or like a dinner party. This is and it's a really nice winter dish, okay? Because even though there's a lot of vegetables in here, take a look at the vegetables. These are all winter vegetables. A lot of them are root vegetables. A lot of them are winter vegetables. So these are not, it's not like a summer dish. Okay, this is a nice hearty winter dish. Okay, especially when you add the wine and the stock and all that. I'm gonna add a bay leaf in there too. Um, Again, if you like rosemary, add rosemary. You will not catch me adding rosemary to this dish. Lots of people do. I will not because I don't like rosemary. Okay? But you can very much add rosemary to this. Rosemary goes really well with braised things. Um, a bay leaf is a very good thing to add to a braised dish like this because it just imparts all of its flavor, and then you take out the bay leaf. Okay, so bay leaves are not really meant to be eaten within the dish. Okay, so we're gonna take a look, and as you can see, each time I open this up, you'll notice the vegetables are getting a little more glistening. Okay, that's because they're sweating out. Okay, and they're not cooking. Okay, they're cooking a little bit. They're steaming, but they are going to really cook in the um, in the braising process. Okay, so all we want to do here is just loosen up the fond, soften these vegetables a little bit, and then we're going to put back in our meat, and then we're going to add our braising liquid, and then we're going to put the lid on, and we are going to let this kick off for at least 3 hours, probably longer. Okay? So obviously we're not going to be on here for all that time. You can add some thyme. Thyme is a really good dish. In fact, I have a little thyme, so there's another one of my corny jokes. I've got a little thyme, so I'm going to add some thyme to this dish. Okay, because it gives a similar, it's a more subtle flavor than a rosemary. Okay, so I do like thyme, and I like thyme in a dish like this. And again, it's just like the bay leaf. You could take it out. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make kind of a little. Well, if I had parsley, then it would be a full bouquet garni, but since I don't have that, it's a almost bouquet garni. Okay, so a bouquet garni is just usually 3 herbs. It's parsley, bay, and thyme. Since I only have parsley and bay, it's going to be a pseudo bouquet garni. Okay? And all you do is you just take the herbs and you kind of bundle them together, which is what I'm doing here. So you see I have my little bundle of herbs here. And then I'm going to take a piece of kitchen twine. Okay, and I'm going to tie it up. And you want to tie it tightly so that it kind of stays together. Now, I'm going to tell you, the time those little leaves are they're going to break up. Okay, they're going to break in and fall into there, and that's fine. That's what they're supposed to do. But you don't really want the woody stems, okay? So there's our little bouquet garni. It looks like a little witch's pouch. I love that. Okay? So you just want to tie it up, and then you can leave, like, it's good to leave it like I have with these nice long strings, because that will make it really easy to fish out when you're ready to fish them out. Okay, so here that there's a lot more moisture there, you see how our vegetables have really shrunken down a lot more. We had a lot of vegetables in there, and see how they've kind of come down. So we are doing good here. Okay, so I'm going to push this aside, and then I'm going to put in my, I'm going to put half of them in here, okay, and then we're going to push the vegetables over on top of them, okay, and we're going to put in our other short ribs, and then we're going to spread our vegetables out throughout it. Now, look at this tray. You see all this juice here? Do not waste that. Okay, get every drop you can into that pan. Okay, it's the same thing as the farm. Okay, you don't want to leave it out there. Okay, then we're going to put in our bouquet garni here. Okay, and we're going to put some of our tomato paste in here. Okay, and these squeezy ones are really great. Okay, because when you get like a regular old container of tomato paste, you can't, once you open it, you have to either use it, and you're not usually using enough that you can do that, or you have to take it out of the container, and you know what, I'm gonna use this one. Okay, because this is a lot, and I'm gonna need that. Okay, so with this, you really get to use it in a much more efficient way. Okay, so this one, and this is imported from Italy. It's double concentrated, and it comes from Lidl, with the German supermarket, and it's really good. Okay, now I'm going to add in my wine, and that's going to slow things down. Okay, and I'm adding most of the bottle in there. Okay, I think I'll just keep a glass for myself, and then we're going to add some stock. Okay, and I am going to show you, oh my gosh, this thing. All right. Move this over. Oh, it already smells good. Okay. So, can you see this giant pot? This is a 20-quart Revereware pot. Okay? This is the largest stock pot they made. And it is a beast. It is really heavy and hard to use. So I'm going to put, this is my homemade chicken stock, and I'm actually going to get kind of this is like the fat on the top, okay? And that's going to kind of flavor this too. Now, you should use beef stock, okay? It's much better to use the same stock of what you're making. I don't have beef stock, and I have this very delicious homemade poultry stock. I'm calling it poultry stock because there was some turkey. I used turkey as well as the chicken. to make it. So it's poultry stock. Okay, and this is now ready to just go. Okay, so it's going to take us a while. I'm going to take this big pot off. Oh God, it's so heavy. And there's not really that much in there. It's only like a third of the way full. So this, that pot. Okay, so now our, everything is in there. Okay, now all we need is time. Not this time, that time, pointing to the clock. Okay, so I'm going to cover this. I'm going to move it to the back burner here. Ooh, that's hot. Imagine that. A giant cast iron pot is hot. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move that over there. We're gonna turn off that flame and we're just gonna leave it there, okay? I'm gonna set a timer for 3 hours and that's gonna just sit there and do its thing, okay? So we'll be back in 3 or so hours to check on this and see where we're at. Also, just because I don't know if I'll do it before, usually what I do is I finish the sauce by taking all those great vegetables that we have and pureeing them, okay? And they will make this really thick, delicious sauce in the to put the short ribs over. Okay, you would put that sauce over that. So I may do that, I may not do that today, but I'll show you how to do that. All right, bye for now, Kitchen Kings and Queens. Okay, Kitchen Kings and Queens, we are done. So after 3 to 4 hours, this is where we're at. Okay, and as you can see, I can barely even take this out without it falling apart. Okay, this one, the actual bone has already fallen out. So here's our little bouquet garni. So we're going to take that out. And now we're going to bring this over to the table and take a look at what we have here. Okay, Kitchen Kings and Queens. So here we have it. Turn this light on. We have our beautiful beef short ribs, okay? And I'm gonna show you. Here's one, and here's the bone, and the bone is just coming right out. Okay, so we have these beautiful, tender short ribs. Okay, and they have this beautiful, tender meat that just kind of shreds like that. And our vegetables are just, they're just melted away, okay? And what we're gonna do with them later, I'll show you a little follow-up to this. We're gonna take these and we're gonna put them in the blender, okay? And then we're gonna take the sauce here and we're gonna separate that and we're gonna reduce it. So we'll reduce down the sauce, we'll puree the vegetables, and then we'll put the reduced sauce and the vegetables together to make like a very thick I don't even know how to describe it. Gravy, I guess, would be the best word. Okay, so again, no knife is needed. The meat is just so tender here. Oh my God. It's like pot roast, but it's just so much deeper and richer. Okay, so wow, this is really, really good. And when we get that gravy, it's going to be even better because that's going to allow all these concentrated flavors that we have in there to really take on everything that's in the pot. Okay, so we'll do that tomorrow and I'll show you the final plating. But I just wanted to share with you, this is how you make these short ribs. Now, what we're going to do is make the gravy for the short ribs, so that'll be a little kitchen quickie. Okay, bye for now, kitchen.